Good evening, everyone. This is Henry Gambell with SimplerOptions.com, and in today's free video, I wanted to follow up on some ideas that I had shared with you here in SPY. Now, last Friday, we covered this particular index. We actually spent more time on it via SPX, and I'll make some comments on that as well. But the reason I wanted to get started here with SPY is because I think we've got a very interesting area that I want to focus on. We started to see the selling towards the end of last week that we had been looking for several days. I think we had something like 13 consecutive rallies in SPY. At any rate, we looked for the decline and we finally got it. Okay, on this drop, and I want you to try to take this too, because as I was learning John's work, it was always tricky for me to to take an idea that he would share and then come in the next morning, and sometimes I wouldn't know whether or not I should put it on. So, for example, when I look at the descent, essentially this swing high to swing low that preceded our rally, and I compare it to what we've got going on right here, I just think it gives you a very serious area to look at for support here around 208. And when I say that about, jumping into this, because the idea that I'm going to be looking at is playing this around 208, looking for a bounce at these levels. One way you can look to do that is by establishing a butterfly around 208. So if we establish just your standard butterfly here in Thinkorswim, when you first cue that up, it's going to put it in relationship to whatever your neighboring strikes are. I would like to widen this out a bit, and I usually start, like in this case, I would start with it being $3 wide, and I would see if I could pay somewhere in the lower third for it. So if I could get this around $1, I think that'd be an advantageous way to play that area into the end of the week. Now, of course, what I was saying, how you don't know, sometimes I don't know if these ideas will necessarily hold up, because if we wake up tomorrow and we've got a situation where the spiders, just for the sake of discussion, let's say they're trading down here at 207 or something like that, well then I wouldn't be looking to do this exact same strategy at this strike. I would lower my strikes and then see if it's a situation where we are really seeing a serious flush, or are we starting to stabilize and then move higher. I think about that idea exactly the same way that I look at the VIX, and this is where you have to be, kind of on the ball with it, or you've got to be able to respond to what happens, because I don't know where this stuff will open necessarily tomorrow. When I look at the VIX, I say this is extremely extended, and it makes me want to sell puts. However, we also have to be mindful that when this thing really gets moving, it can have some pretty serious moves. So you're trying to catch a falling knife in a way that puts the sale of premium in your favor, that still defines risk should we be wrong, and those are the ideas that I'm looking at from Tuesday into Wednesday. Of course, we'll have the Fed on Wednesday, and that could be a wild card in and of itself, but I would use these exact same strategies to try and play range and volatility extremes, and I think that will help give you an edge into the switching expiration. So, I hope that helps. If there's anything else I can do for you, please feel free to email me. Otherwise, I will see you guys at the next free video.
Hey everybody, this is John. I hope you guys had a great weekend. And I was going through today, this is a Monday. I normally don't trade on Monday. It's just kind of my off day for a variety of reasons. But I was going through, and we had just a lot of really great feedback on our class over the weekend, which we did on Saturday. And this was a new indicator and a new series of things that we put out. And, to me, I just look at this as this is kind of a natural evolution of the tools that we're creating after having done this, for a long time. And it was interesting, the response on this was not, it wasn't like, oh, this is just the next level of natural progression tools. It was like, this is the tool that's just bringing everything together. And I was just surprised by this kind of outpouring of, thank you, this is going to make everything so much easier. And so today on my non-trading day, I just kind of, I looked at this and just said, well, if there's an easy setup that I don't have to think about, I'll put on a trade in the background while I'm doing my other work. And there was an easy trade on the S&Ps. And how this works, for those of you that don't know, so this is, if you're a day trader, you take the 30-minute and the 5-minute. This, goes back and references the hour and the 2-hour and the 4-hour chart. And if everything's lined up, you get a red dot up here, and it's kind of a no-brainer sell signal. And so I just kind of threw on, and Monday's kind of the day that's where I catch up on reading and things like that. And I don't want to sit there staring at charts. So I just put on 3 contracts and just wrote it all the way down. And it was interesting because, normally I trade bigger, and normally I'm more involved in my trading, but this was like a set it and kind of a forget it kind of a thing. And I'm personally just super excited about this because of all, I use this with stock options and different things like that as well. But the idea here where it's It's just becoming less and less important to know what's going on. It's just to understand order flow. And this indicator helps you understand order flow on any time frame, so you're never fighting the market. So as I was going through some of the feedback this weekend, this is some of the stuff that stood out. And as I'm just reading through a couple of the notes here, and I'll show you one of the emails, but one of them was, I like this one a lot. It said, during the seminar, when you said a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you'd built up to this moment, and you brought up the slide of the indicator, that's when I knew I finally had a shot at trading. And I thought that was great, because that's, again, for me, this is kind of like the natural next step. And I forget that for someone who's, maybe you've only done this just starting or a couple of years, I would be amazed if I had something like this when I started. And kudos to Eric for putting this together. It was really good work. And it's not just about, obviously, futures trading or day trading. So here is a daily, it's also about just weekly income generation. So here's a daily chart on Chipotle's. And we got the arrow, signaling that a new rollover was in place. And then once you get all the red dots, it's super, I don't think simple is the right word. It's just that you're aligned. You are not fighting order flow. You're certainly not trying to buy the dip, and you can hop in on the bandwagon. And this is what I would call an income trade. And now, this was income trade is something where you sell some premium, and then you don't really have to stare at the charts all day. In fact, you're not supposed to, because it's an income trade. And now you can see I could buy this back at 17 cents. So on 20 lots right now, it's up $7,200. Obviously, I could buy it back now, but this thing has worked so well just by following that I'll just continue to collect another $130 of theta decay for the next couple of days before closing it out. And another comment that had come in after the class said to say, hey, John, you know what? Merging all of these indicators into a single format is, in my opinion, a game changer. This is incredible. And then another one came up, John, I've been trading for 6 years, and what you and Chris have shown has just blown me away. And so it's always exciting to see stuff like that. Whereas, again, I kind of look at it as this is just a natural progression. A lot of you came back and said this is a game changer. So based on all this, now we know we have actually never done this before, but based on all this, just making sure that people understand what the class was about, because sometimes it's, I've been to your classes before. This is essentially it's a game-changing tool. But we are going to offer access to the class recordings and live sessions once again. So you can now go back and review the Saturday class and still participate in the live trading sessions that we're going to be doing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Just either check below this video or you'll see a link. But again, the feedback on this has just been overwhelmingly positive in terms of, it's kind of interesting when you do something like this, because you don't know exactly how people are going to take it. Somebody who's been trading for 10 years is going to have different aha moments than someone who's only been doing this for a week. But the overwhelming consensus from beginners, intermediate, and advanced people was that this is just a game changer, and it helps everybody meet their trading goals. So obviously that's exciting, and we want to make sure that everybody who wants to kind of take this step, next step in their trading, gets the opportunity. So here you go. You guys have a good one, and looking forward to seeing you in the live event.